Welcome to the ABC's Going Nowhere series. If you live in southeast Queensland, you're probably becoming increasingly frustrated with traffic gridlock. We're in our cars for longer and costs are rising. Still, people seem reluctant to catch public transport. We're going to have a look at some of the bold proposals to fix the problem, but first, let's go for a drive.
Bye, be good.
Bye, Mama.
3 mornings a week, single mum Amy Miller is out the door and on the road by 7, trying to beat the traffic. She drives from Upper Kedron in Brisbane's northwest to her part-time job at East Brisbane.
Better news at Bowen Hills, the emergency works have all been cleared now.
She has a few regular routes depending on traffic conditions. Today she's taken Samford Road and Kelvin Grove Road.
That'll take me down Howells Street and then over the expressway into East Brisbane.
Council data shows the average speed drops to 22 kilometres an hour here during the morning peak. Ms Miller's other options aren't much faster. Wardell Street slows to 27 kilometres per hour around Ashgrove and Waterworks Road crawls at 30 kilometres an hour. She allows an hour for the 20-kilometre journey, but sometimes it takes much longer.
It'd be an hour that I'd prefer to be at home with my children than sitting in a car in traffic.
She's not alone. The RACQ says commuters can spend the equivalent of 3 weeks a year stuck in traffic.
Those daily commutes are taking much longer with travel speeds during those times well below the posted speed limit.
Data analysed by the RACQ shows June's slowest points included Sandgate Road at Clayfield at just 15 kilometres an hour. And the Pacific Motorway at Woolloongabba, where the average speed was 30 kilometres an hour, 60 below the speed limit. Congestion is a problem on the Gold and Sunshine coasts too, with High Street at Southport and Aerodrome Road at Maroochydore topping the list of slow spots. Petrol prices and parking costs are among the highest in the country. But researchers found Brisbane has the worst public transport access of all capital cities, a major barrier to getting cars off the roads.
If you haven't got a service that's coming regularly, then you have to find alternate ways of getting from where you live to where you need to be.
Amy Miller's reluctant to give up her car for a trip that requires the train, bus and walking.
And it's just not something that I can do and be able to leave home at somewhat of a reasonable hour and get home at a reasonable hour for the kids.
For people to move into public transport, it actually has to represent a better option than car. And at the moment, we have a public transport system that fundamentally cannot offer a better solution.
Public transport patronage is starting to recover after dropping over the last decade. Almost 190 million trips were taken in the southeast last financial year. Leonie, you're on the train heading into the city for work today. Why do you choose to take public transport?
Oh, because it's convenient, it's less hassle, you get there on time.
Do you find it a pretty reliable service?
Yes, I do. I think they've improved.
Oh, that's pretty good. Like, the maximum time I need to wait is 3 or 4 minutes.
Why do you normally drive though? Do you find driving's more convenient?
It is convenient for our family because I drop my son at school usually.
Whichever mode of transport they choose, Brisbane households are spending almost $20,000 a year just getting around.
By 2040, more than 5 million people are expected to call southeast Queensland home. It's forcing many people to the outer suburbs to chase the Australian dream. Problem is, that's putting a lot of pressure on the road and the rail network. So many families are choosing to give up the house and land package.
Alicia Forsyth's worked hard for her patch of Australia. She chose Ripley, south of Ipswich, where her 4-year-old daughter Harper enjoys the benefits of a yard.
Do you hold the hose? It's a 480 square metre block, 4-bedroom, 2-car garage. Yeah, so we've really enjoyed living here.
Ripley is Queensland's fastest growing satellite city. Within 15 years, 120,000 people are expected to live here. The main developer plans to pour $1.5 billion into a town centre.
To support those population growth and providing health services, educational services, all the government services that need to be in here.
But for the moment, Brisbane's Western Corridor is facing a commuting crisis. The existing transport network for the Ipswich region just can't keep pace.
When you look at the growth we're going to have from 200,000 to 500,000 people in 30 years, we can't travel the same way.
One incident can turn the Western Freeway into a car park.
I drive to Acacia Ridge and it takes about 40 minutes on a good day. If there's heavy traffic, it will take a lot longer.
Ipswich is addicted to cars.
54% of families in Ipswich have 2 or more cars.
But perhaps that's not surprising. Many people choose the highways because of poor public transport options. Ripley is serviced by one bus that operates just 5 days a week. There are 2 rail lines, one into Ipswich and one that stops at Springfield. There are plans to improve that. An extension of the line is proposed to loop in Ripley. It just won't happen until after Cross River Rail. It's already gridlock at Springfield's central train station with a sea of illegal parking in the master-planned community.
This city will grind to a halt if we don't have an appropriate and effective public transport system.
It's a similar story for other growth pockets across the southeast.
These are areas that have 5,000 people. Now they're going to have hundreds of thousands of people, and how are we going to move them around?
But some families are turning their backs on suburbia to be closer to work, schools, shops and public transport.
We are noticing more and more people choosing to sacrifice space for accessibility. So more and more families with children are actually staying in apartments.
The latest census data shows 2.3 million Australians live in an apartment. Families with children make up about a quarter of those, and nearly 1 in 10 of all children aged 4 and below have an apartment home. Travis Pearson and his wife decided to sell their Clayfield home for an apartment in West End.
We grew up both believing that you had to buy your house and your land and live out in the suburbs to be happy, and that's what you should be aspiring to.
He says the family is thriving. His daughter walks to school and both parents take public transport to work.
We've got everything we need around us with the shops, the community. We've got close access to hospitals as we get older.
But with an extra 1.5 million people expected to call the southeast home within 20 years, the choices about where to live and how to get there are likely to get more difficult.
So what's being done to fix the gridlock? Ambitious plans are on the table, like the Cross River Rail, the Brisbane Metro and the second M1. So we asked the experts if they're enough to ease congestion.
On the fast track to the future, Jetson-style flying cars may eventually be the way we get to work. But for now, Queensland's vision is firmly underground, with the $5 million Cross River Rail.
One current river crossing for 3.5 million people clearly is not sustainable.
The line will stretch for 10 kilometres from Dutton Park to Bowen Hills, taking commuters under the Brisbane River to get into the CBD, unlocking a bottleneck. It could slash up to 20 minutes off the Gold Coast commute, but it's still 5 years away.
There's so many things we can't do to fix our rail network without Cross River Rail.
High-frequency buses capable of moving 22,000 people an hour are also in the pipeline, but the council-run Metro project has stalled due to politics.
And the only thing standing in the way is the state government.
To this day, the City Council, after 3.5 years, still can't tell us what the vehicle actually is.
I have colleagues on both sides, and I know that each is frustrated with the other.
If it gets the green light, it'll run along a 21-kilometre route with peak hour services every few minutes.
Every 5 minutes during the day and every 10 minutes at night.
The LNP-backed project is fully funded by Council and Canberra. But for now, there's no big money for a multi-billion-dollar duplicate M1. The government has gazetted a 45-kilometre corridor called the Coomera Connector. However, it's only at a business case stage, so it's a long way off.
We will need to fund it, and we'll need an agreement with the federal government in the future.
But is it the right solution?
I think it suggests that we've lost the battle if we're going to be building a duplicate M1.
UQ planning expert Professor Neil Sipe claims an express second rail line, Gold Coast to Brisbane, is a better option. It's what Sunshine Coast commuters want too, faster rail.
The next Brisbane-Roma Street service is currently running 30 minutes late.
Rail advocate Jeff Addison says the single-track line is one of the state's worst performers for commuters.
Their bosses get sick of them telling them that I'm going to be in late today because my train has been delayed.
The state government's committed $160 million to the second track from Beerburrum to Landsborough, with $360 million coming federally, but it's not enough money.
Queenslanders can't wait 30 years for some of these solutions to be delivered.
Even Council's vision of 5 new green bridges is not fully funded.
There's no silver bullet on the horizon, I'm afraid, for traffic congestion.
The best hope is a gold medal winning 2032 Olympics bid, which could see critical infrastructure fast-tracked to help visitors get to venues on time.
Unlike today's commuters stuck in the slow lane.